What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch back here for another week of the top 10 teams in the NFL right now after week number 12. These are the elite teams in the NFL right now with a quarter left in the regular season. These are the teams that are the biggest contenders for the Super Bowl. Before I rank my top 10 from number 10 to number 1, make sure that you do Gronk spike the like button and subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL top 10s weekly here on the channel. And comment below your opinion. What do you think of my top 10? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you disagree? Do you agree? Let me know in the comment section below. Let's kick off my top 10 this week, after week number 12, going into week number 13, with a team that I have not been able to figure out for the life of me. That is the Houston Texans. The Texans have solidified themselves, at least at this point in the season, as the best team in the AFC South. At least for now, okay? They beat the Colts. Now, the Colts beat them earlier this season, and really, honestly, for you Texans fans out there, I do think you got a little bit lucky in that football game. I do believe the Colts kind of shot themselves in the foot and honestly had a better opportunity to win that game than many people think. But I don't want to take any credit away from Houston because the Texans have an MVP caliber quarterback, a top 5 quarterback right now in Deshaun Watson. And really, I have not given them enough credit for how much better of a football team they are with Will Fuller in the lineup. He adds a different dimension to this team. Even with the trade for Kenny Stills has not been able to provide, at least until this point, the playmaking ability, the downfield attack that Will Fuller brings to this offense. DeAndre Hopkins is an elite receiver. Nobody's questioning that. What I do question, though, is his downfield ability. He's not a downfield threat. He's more similar in the same vein as a Michael Thomas. Great possession receiver, even great at going down the field and winning a one-on-one. But in terms of burning teams, in terms of worrying teams down the field one-on-one, that's all Will Fuller. Will Fuller's a machine in terms of deep passing, and it opens up the entire offense, and it helps Deshaun Watson a ton. Their ground game has been pretty impressive this year compared to years past with Carlos Hyde. The defense, though, I'll continue to say it. I think the Colts gave the Texans too much credit to their pass defense. Their pass defense is not very good. And we're going to see in the playoffs, most likely, that will be their downfall. Without J.J. Watt, who was playing as one of the best defensive players in the league, getting, I believe, the most pressures in the league to the point where he was injured, the pass rush has diminished, and the secondary is no good either. We know this. So when you do play a team like Kansas City, maybe New England with their full set of weapons, who they play this week, Baltimore even, I feel like, exposed them down the field with Lamar Jackson, and some of these better offenses in the AFC, that is going to really hurt them in terms of just passing attack, whether that's underneath or over the top. But nonetheless, I have to give the Texans the credit, and that's why they are in the top 10, because of what Deshaun Watson has done, because of Bill O'Brien's ability to manage football games and get his team up for any competition, and they're winning. They have a winning record, and they're on top of their division. So I have to give them that credit for now. I just don't quite buy into them as that contender in the AFC. At number 9, I have the Buffalo Bills. The reason why I have the Bills above the Texans, first, they have a better record. Despite whatever you're going to say about their schedule, the Bills, good teams beat bad teams. And the Bills have proven that they beat teams that are worse than them, less talented than them. And the Bills have gotten better. The Bills have gotten better offensively. And most of that has really been because of Josh Allen. Josh Allen has improved. Josh Allen has matured, and we saw that last game. Congratulations to Frank Gore for 3rd all-time in rushing yards. That's amazing. But the Buffalo Bills, they've gotten a little bit better in terms of stopping that run game on defense, which was their Achilles heel. Their defense is legitimately top 5, legitimately elite. We know their pass defense is at least in the top 3. And that's going to keep them in a lot of games. If Josh Allen can continue to make plays outside and inside the pocket with his big arm and limit the mistakes, which he has been doing, then the Bills have a chance versus any team in the AFC, even the Patriots, even the Ravens. So the Bills, you take away Josh Allen's interceptions versus the Patriots the first time around, he's been actually one of the best quarterbacks in terms of protecting the football, which when you're the Bills and you can rely on a strong defense, that goes a long way. So the Buffalo Bills are here at number 9, above the Texans because they are more consistent this season. At number 8, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, I believe, are a team in the AFC. No matter how bad their defense is, they can be in any game because Patrick Mahomes has that ability to keep you in a game, to win you a game single-handedly. It doesn't matter the opponent. If you're the Ravens in the playoffs, you don't want to see the Chiefs. Not only have the Chiefs beat you 2 years in a row, but Patrick Mahomes has sliced your defense apart 2 years in a row, and Patrick Mahomes can be a singular type of quarterback, one player, like we've seen Aaron Rodgers do in the past, or a Peyton Manning, or a Tom Brady, where they can just take over a game, even if their team is less talented than your team, and they can go into your building and they can upset you because they can put 35 points on the board. And that's what Patrick Mahomes is capable of doing. Now, I want to see if Tyreek Hill is fully 100% because that is also a big component of this. But the Chiefs have an offense that can explode at any second, that can beat you in a multitude of ways, and Andy Reid has that playoff experience. Defensively, they just need to have 1 or 2 plays a game where they take the ball away from you and they're in the game. So for me, the Chiefs are not necessarily the most well-rounded team. I don't believe that they're the 8th best team overall. But sometimes, I say it, you only really need one elite part of your team to be a good team in the NFL. And the Chiefs' offense is elite. There's no doubt about that. So they're here at number 8. At number 7, I have the Green Bay Packers. The Packers, I've said it many weeks in a row, are continued to slip in my mind. And that was solidified versus the 49ers. They have really struggled versus teams that play that Seattle scheme on defense. And the 49ers play a lot of that Seattle cover 3, press bail. They have a strong defensive line, a similar way to the Chargers. The Chargers play a very similar style, have a very similar defensive line, although not as great as San Francisco. And San Francisco showed that they could couple that great defense with an offense that could expose the Packers defense. A Packers defense that went from being, hey, this could be a top 10 defense, to this is definitely a bottom 10 defense, if not a bottom 5 defense. So if Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones and Adams is not able to put up 30 in the playoffs, I do not believe the Packers are going to go very far in the playoffs. Because I don't think this defense is going to stop many teams. It has to be very specific in terms of their matchup. They have not been able to stop the run. They have not been able to stop the pass with as much consistency as you would like. And really, they need to be playing with a lead to win. So I think the Packers kind of need to go back to the drawing board a little bit if they want to contend in the NFC. At number 6, I have the Minnesota Vikings. Now, again, I've had them above the Packers for a couple of weeks now, and I do think that people are going to start to see why now after that Packers loss versus San Francisco. But the Vikings are a more complete team, and I believe they are more of a playoff-ready team than the Packers. Like I said, the Packers have a bottom 5, maybe, defense in the NFL. The Vikings, they have a top 10 defense. The Vikings have a top 5 running game. The Vikings have a top 10 quarterback. The Vikings have one of, if not the best duo at wide receiver, and they have won without Adam Thielen, one of the best route runners and most consistent receivers in the game. And I think many people are forgetting that he has not played a lot this season, or at least down the stretch. That's going to help them a ton. So I really like the Vikings. I think the Vikings are a team that could surprise a team or two in the playoffs. If Zimmer can get a little bit of a diagnosis on your offense, he can shut you down with his scheme. And then Kirk Cousins, the way that their simple formula of run the ball and work play action, very much like the 49ers, is working to the point that they could put up big time points. When that offense is clicking, it really is clicking. Now, the Vikings, again, they have not proven to me that they are a clutch team yet. They have not proven to me that they can defeat the elite of the elite in the NFL. And until they do, I cannot rank them in the top 5, but I believe that they're that team that's just under the top 5. At number 5, I have the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks have proven me wrong yet again. And I think I need to stop doubting the Seattle Seahawks. I picked the Eagles versus the Seahawks, and I'll be the first to admit I was wrong. But the reason why is because I thought without Jadeveon Clowney, their defense wouldn't be able to play the way it did. I thought the Eagles were a little bit better also. And I thought the Eagles would play for their season, and the Seahawks, this would be sort of a down game for them. I was wrong. Again, Russell Wilson didn't even have his best game, which I think if you're a Seahawks fan, that's good news. Because they just showed you that even if Russell Wilson isn't scoring 30 points, even if he isn't lighting up the scoreboard and throwing for a ton of yards or scrambling and making plays as well as he has this season, you're still capable of winning games. Your defense has vastly improved, and the secondary is still a little bit of a concern. But if that pass rush continues to play the way it is, and that linebacking core, of course, is one of the best in the league, then you can upset teams. And I think the Seahawks are one of those teams, very much like the way that I discussed the Chiefs. I think they're one of those teams you do not want to play in the playoffs because they have a quarterback that's special, they have a coach that has playoff experience, and they know what it takes in January. So at number 5, I have the Seahawks. At number 4, I have the New Orleans Saints. The Saints had a little bit of a scare this week versus Carolina, and quite honestly, they maybe should have lost that game. But the Saints, they found a way to win, and they found a way to pick up another victory. They're likely to secure the NFC South very, very soon. And to me, for the Saints, it really just comes down to how is that defense going to respond after giving up a big number to Kyle Allen and company versus Carolina. I think the Saints have not looked as impressive or as sexy as some of the other teams within the top 5 recently, but they're still there. They're still picking up victories, and Drew Brees is being efficient. Their running game is great, and Michael Thomas continues to find ways to get open. Their defense is really missing Marshawn Lattimore, so that is something to really note. When he is not there, this defense isn't the same, but when he is there, this defense is instantly an elite unit. So I think the Saints are still right there underneath the 49ers as that next best team in the NFC. And again, I wouldn't be shocked if they are the NFC representative in the Super Bowl, but I still am going to stress that without the big plays offensively, I do question whether they can get it done in the playoffs. And now that their defense isn't quite playing as well as it had at certain moments in this season, I do believe they are a team that could be primed for an upset in the playoffs if they're not careful. So I like the Saints. I do think the Carolina game is interesting to go back to. They lost to Atlanta. So there's some things to look at there, but I think the Saints are still securely in the top 5. At number 3, I have the New England Patriots. I got to witness the New England Patriots' phenomenal defense live in person, and I was not disappointed. The Patriots' defense right now is on pace to be the second best scoring defense of all time. All time. Only below the Baltimore Ravens and of 2000. And they're above the 85 Bears. That's how great this defense is. And to me, it's just getting to the point of where the media is critiquing and trying to nitpick this Patriots team because they aren't a Patriots team that we've seen before in terms of they're not scoring 30 points a game. They're not winning sexy. They're not blowing teams out. But in a very same way of the 2003 or maybe the 2004 Patriots, these teams were dominant on defense, and it got to a certain point where the offense only needed to produce when they had to. And versus the Cowboys, they really didn't need to do much because the defense put them in positions to win the game. Now, I would say that Tom Brady threw the ball very well in close to a monsoon type of environment. I was there. I recognize how difficult it was to throw the ball. When you compared a young, in his prime Dak Prescott throwing the ball to a Tom Brady throwing the ball at 42 years old, Tom Brady was the better quarterback in that game. Despite playing a better defense, Dak was. Tom, with very minimal targets, without Sanu, without Dorsett, was still ripping the ball downfield. And yes, the stats don't show it, but he evaded a couple of sacks and a couple of big losses. He was able to hit Edelman on a few big drives, and honestly, that was the difference between the Patriots winning and them losing. So even though they only scored 13 points, probably should have been 19 if Nick Folk hits 2 field goals, Tom Brady was still good. And if you add Sanu back, and you add Dorsett back, and Isaiah Wynn really got the run game going, I do believe, I've been saying it for a couple of weeks now, that this offense will get better. And I think we saw, even though they only scored 13 points, a little bit of what they want their identity to be. I think they want to run the ball. They want to work play action, and they want to stay out of the 3rd and longs so that they can hit those plays over the middle of the field to these receivers. And I think a guy like Jacoby Myers and N'Keal Harry, having the games that they had in that game in terms of N'Keal Harry, the touchdown, and Jacoby Myers, a lot of the big plays for the Patriots in that game, it only helps with the depth at the wide receiver position. It only helps with the chemistry of Brady. So I think the Patriots are in prime position to be right there with the Ravens in the AFC. Their defense is as dominant as ever, and really they've only had one down performance this entire season. They are 10-1, and people are acting like they're 1-10. It's kind of crazy. I guess that's the expectations we hold for the Patriots nowadays. They're still, in my opinion, the second best team in the AFC, and arguably the best. So let's get to number 2, who is the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are phenomenal. I expected them to be a playoff team this year. I did not expect them to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. I did not expect them to destroy the Packers. Actually, I picked them to beat the Packers before the season started, but not the way that they did. They dominated, and it clearly showed that with George Kittle back in the lineup, their offense goes from being pretty decent to being very difficult to handle, because you have to deal with, people don't understand what that does for their offense. I mean, not only is he great as a run blocker, which helps what they want to do and run the ball in their outside zone scheme, but he also is a phenomenal receiver that in a one-on-one matchup is nearly uncoverable. So you have to deal with all the play action, all the boots, and the way that the offensive line sells the play action makes it look like a run. Then you slip out Kittle on a one-on-one route where he could go inside, he can go outside, and that's how he gets wide open down the field. Emmanuel Sanders, Deebo Samuel, these players are perfectly molded to this offense, and this offense, with Jimmy Garoppolo continuing to improve, continue to get better, continue to gain confidence, is becoming an elite unit with a defense that has the best defensive line in pass rush in football. And when that pass rush is clicking, they are incredibly difficult to contain and to even score a point against, as we saw with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And I think if they get a lead on you, it's almost impossible to beat them. So the 49ers are here at number 2. At number 1, the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I was actually going to place the 49ers number 1 until I saw the incredible performance by the Ravens on Monday Night Football, and they are just taking the NFL world by storm. They are the team right now. Lamar Jackson is the player, and everybody wants to talk about Lamar Jackson. Everybody wants to talk about the Ravens, and that is a great thing. That's also a little bit of a bad thing. Some people are comparing them to the 2015 Panthers, which I could see, that where Cam Newton was unstoppable and really he was so exciting at that season, and really that team looked like they were destined for the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. And then on the other side, their defense is very solid and kind of underrated. And I think that's really where the Ravens have gone from being a good team to the best team right now in the NFL, is that their defense has gone from okay to very good. I don't think it's elite, but it's very good. And their players are playing with an edge. They have so much confidence. They're playing with flair. They're playing with charisma. And that's all thanks to Lamar Jackson and a great coach in Harbaugh. I think the Ravens are only going to get better. But the only thing I question with the Ravens is if they play a team a second time, how does that go? Because I remember last season, they were able to beat the Chargers. They did some things versus the Chargers, and I understand this is a different team and a different season. But the Chargers and the Ravens, the second time they played, looked like a completely different matchup, completely different teams. So if they play the Texans or the Chiefs or the Patriots, or a lot of these teams they've already played this season in the playoffs, does it change or is it the same? I think that's the only question I have. But the Ravens right now, as we stand, are the best team in football because not only are they winning, but they're also winning with style points. And that counts in the top 10. Thanks, guys, for watching this top 10 after week number 12. If you enjoyed, spike the like button and subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL videos. It's Mitch. Peace out.